Hi there, and welcome to Intangify. I'm your host, Matthew Asbell. Today we have a special guest, Brian Freed, who is an inventor coach, among many other things, because he's lived and breathed inventions for 20 plus years and helps people all over the world to understand how to pursue and obtain rights in their invention and to get their inventions to market and do all the things they need to do with their invention. So, Brian, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Matthew.
Tell me a little bit about who you are.
I am, first off, an inventor. So I have 15 issued patents. I've licensed products to earn royalties from them. I manufacture products locally and overseas. And I've been doing the same thing working with other inventors that have big ideas for the last 20 plus years now. During my journey, I've wanted to keep putting good information out there. So I authored 3 books. My latest one is How to Make Money with Your Invention Idea. I built a community called National Inventor Club. I've been running inventor clubs for 18 years. Now it's National Inventor Club. And I also have an app for inventors called the Inventor Smart Community app, which is available on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. So lot of fun stuff in my journey. I was an on-air guest on QVC for about 3 years. And just the most important thing for me is to get great information out to the inventor community or people that have an idea and figure out if it's something that they should work on or not.
I think the place to start with you, for at least from my perspective, is like, how does one become an inventor? I mean, I don't. There, it's not like you get a college degree in invention. How did it happen for you, and how does it happen for the people who you coach?
Well, I think even when I'm talking to people these days, you don't realize that you're an inventor. But as you're going through life, like you wake up and your alarm clock goes off. So you're out of bed, you're in the bathroom, you're brushing your teeth, your hair, whatever else you're doing in there. In the kitchen, you're using things in the kitchen, then you're out the door and maybe you're taking public transportation or in your car or traveling. And you can either be a people watcher or you can be like me and think about things that annoy the heck out of me that I do or I'm watching other people do. And that's how I come up with ideas. And there's people that say, maybe it could be done better, but somebody else will come up with it. And then 20 years later, they go, oh my gosh, that was my idea. I woulda, coulda, should have, right? Or they say, you know what? These days it's easy. You go online, boom, 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 and you figure out like, hey, maybe I have something here. But a lot of times people are searching and they're searching with their eyes closed and they don't realize if it's something that they should work on or not because they don't see it. And they're like, you know what? My idea is going to make me a gazillionaire. I'm going to go all the way with this thing. But it's really important to kind of go through the steps. But yeah, most of the time it's problem solution and just being aware of what's around you to stop and write it down, text yourself, leave yourself a voice message, whatever, tell the person, well, maybe you don't want to tell the person next to you, but just capture the idea is really the point.
I'll just make sure I say you don't want to tell the person next to you, right? Because you're trying to preserve your ability to protect it, right, as a patent or something of that nature.
Absolutely.
But this show is about you, not me. So we're going to talk about that process and what you do. And I think, to some degree, I'm not willing to reveal the details, but I think you might be able to help me kind of walk through a little bit in the same way that you help some of your clients. Um, and I think that will maybe help people understand what are these pitfalls or what are these things that they're not thinking of doing, or how to evaluate it. And the first thing I want to say, because you said, there are the people who are the woulda, coulda, shouldas, or maybe somebody else will make that. And that's true. In my case, when I came up with something that I thought was a real solution to a problem and would be really cool, and I was really into it, I was not going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person, but I still couldn't get it started. And I know that you've got something to say to those people who have every love for their idea and every interest in pursuing it, but just don't even know what to do.
A lot of times when you want to do something yourself, You're kind of stubborn to make sure that you figure out a way to get it done. And it's a lot easier these days. You can go on. I mean, I'm doing landscaping myself. I'm trying to fix things that are broken just to not have the whole production of somebody fixing things. So you try to do things on your own. And there's certain things that you can and certain things that you might want to consider having an expert to help you with, right? Especially going to a doctor. I mean, you could still look up what maybe your ailments are, but you probably still want to go to the doctor. So there's certain things that you just want to verify it and make sure. But it's important for people to know that when you do come up with an idea, you want to go on and do kind of this search. And I mentioned before, like to just, I mean, go on and just kind of put in a descriptive term of what your idea is like. And then maybe go into the stores that you envision your idea in, that you could see it in, and see if it already exists. Or if it's an idea that's a business opportunity, to see if it exists. And then stop to think about what's going to make your idea different than what's already out there. Is this something that's going to make you money? Is it something that if you put your time, money, energy, effort into, are you going to get a return? Because everybody can come up with an idea and you can search and close your eyes and go through a couple pages of Google and say, oh my gosh, it's not out there. I'm going to be a gazillionaire. And, then you're on your journey at step 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you didn't take your time to do a good search in the beginning. So one thing that I say is first to go on and do a good search, go shop around, see what's making your idea different than what's already out there, build up some conversation and some understanding and some comparisons. And then what I usually suggest is to go to a patent attorney or agent. And a patent agent is somebody that can represent you in the US Patent and Trademark Office and file on your behalf. A patent attorney can actually litigate for you if you need. So there's a couple different variations there, but get somebody that's professional to look at what you have, look at what you pulled up, find some prior art from the US Patent and Trademark Office and the databases that are out there, and see if it's yours. See if you could call it your own, because it feels good. And when you come up with this idea like you did, you're probably very emotional. It's something that you wanted to change your life, or you're excited about it. You have this vision and you want to bring it to life. That's all great. But is it yours? Are you going to see some kind of return from it? So some people invent to put a patent on the wall, and other people want to make money with what they put in to get out. So everybody's different and everybody has their kind of hidden agenda, but it's really important to do your due diligence first before you move on. And that's the hardest part, is when you come up with an idea, you have to look at it as a business. You're doing your due diligence, you're doing your research and development. And then you can start to get a little bit more excited, but start to get the right people or companies to help you with certain steps if you feel like you're kind of going in a circle. But one thing, Matthew, that I have to say is that whether it's this business or any business, even if I'm building a house or I'm renovating or whatever, when somebody comes in, they go, oh my gosh, your house is so beautiful, but I'm going to make it so spectacular. And, like, you get emotional. So somebody tells you your idea is great. That's good. That's great. So tell me what you could do for me. Why don't you get some referrals? Ask questions. Go see what they did. Ask what their experience was like before you make decisions. But a lot of people make emotional decisions in this business rather than put your business cap on and make business decisions. So that's one thing that's very important to me, to get the word out to people.
Totally agree with that. As you were talking about self-diagnosing instead of going to a doctor, and there's a piece to that, and it ties into to also coming to attorneys, like me and others who do patents and IP. And I would think also even for someone like you, but I'll invite you to address it, which is really about trust. So it's one thing to say, "Oh, could I do it myself?" And as you were talking about this, hey, do your due diligence, search and see if anybody else has done it. I can tell you how many times, there must have been hundreds, maybe thousands of times, that somebody has come to me with an idea that they wanted me to help them with from an intellectual property perspective. And they said, oh, yes. And I searched, and there's nothing like it in the world. They're ultra confident about that. Um, and when I dig into it, I find out that, well, yeah, I mean, they didn't search for the right thing. They didn't search with the right breadth. They didn't search the right number of the right various countries or where it could have been. They didn't know how to navigate the patent office database, which is quite complicated and not so obvious to people.
It's not out there. I'm telling you. I went down the aisle at Walmart and I didn't see it out there. I'm going to be a gazillionaire. That's what happens, unfortunately. And like I said, it's exciting, it's emotional, but you want to make smart business decisions.
So on the one hand, you'll get the people who are like, okay, well, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I want to pursue it. I want to go get it. I want to own it around the world. I got to do everything. And then you get the others who more like me in this context as the inventor. I don't know. I mean, I have more skills probably than the layperson in terms of going to search for inventions, but I don't know. I don't know if this exists. I don't know. I don't What I really don't know in my case is, would other people buy this? Like, is there demand for this product? I've got an idea that for me, I think would be a cool product. But maybe I'm a unicorn here. I've got it would help me, but other people would think it was stupid. In fact, I'll tell you a story. There was a radio show in New York City where I live, um, a National Public Radio show, I think maybe. And anyway, they were complaining about the difficulty in finding parking spots in New York City for those people who drive their cars around, and they park on alternate sides, different days of the week to avoid having to pay for a garage because the garages are so expensive. And I called in on this radio show. This was not an invention I decided I wanted to pursue, but I called in on this radio show and I said, you know, why don't they just make an app that people can register? I'm leaving my parking spot here, and that will like let the network know that where the empty parking spots are, so they can go and get the parking spot instead of driving around wasting fuel. That's what we do in New York City, right? We drive around block by block by block until somebody happens to leave. And I gotta tell you, the radio hosts, like, they poo-pooed the whole thing. They're like, "Really? Yeah, right. There's not gonna be an app like that." Like, 3 years later, there was an app just like that.
Even when people are coming to me, it's not fair for me to tell you if it's going to be a complete winner or not. But what I can tell you is what the window of opportunity is. So you came up with this idea and you thought it was great for you. And I like to give this kind of example is somebody comes to me with a golf ball and they say, I just invented this amazing golf ball and it does all these tricks and tips and it improves my game and whatever. And everybody in the world should buy and will buy my golf ball. So they're on the golf course and they're looking around and they go, everybody in the world is going to buy my golf ball. But when you step out of the golf course and you go to the movies or the restaurant, you ask people, do you play golf? Do you play? Not everybody plays golf. So I like to give this kind of example. I have a bag from a presentation that I did, just almost reachable, but I have one of my inventions here. So this is an invention I came up with called pull ties. I was on QVC with this one for many years also. And it's a bag sealer. So you take any plastic bag, cereal bag, freezer bag, you put it through the loop, you pull it up and it seals it tight. So when I went on when I came up with this, I thought it would be cool for bread bags because the twist ties and the plastic tab annoyed the crap out of me, right? So I said, you know what? This can work. But maybe you like bread, maybe you don't like bread. Maybe that one likes bread, that one doesn't like bread. So I said, what else can I use this for? So I went into my cereal boxes and I saw my cereal bags were left open. In the freezer, I had French fries that were frozen, right? Freezer burn. I went into the pantry and sugar was left open. My dog food was left open. After things are open, I know you have chip clips and they don't work, right? So I came up with this product called Pull Ties. And when I went on QVC with this and I showed people that it's for bread, it's for cereal, it's for free, this, boom, boom, boom. You know how I won with this one, Matthew? I said, how many people have a kitchen? So what I do is I like to figure out, sometimes people come to me with like this huge thing And this huge thing has this little thing in it that's really the main thing. So I don't need somebody to buy this huge thing because they already have 10 of these things. But this is the uniqueness of your idea. So if you take this and you pick it off, now anybody that has one of those, you can sell it to. So I like to kind of figure out. A lot of people, even last night, we had a meet and greet in my Invent a Smart community app, and one lady said, "You know, this is really good for dexterity and all this stuff." I said, "That's amazing." However, the way I look at it, maybe it could be fourth or fifth on your list. You want to try to get this big, because dexterity and all that, I appreciate it and I can use that too as I'm getting older, but it's this. So is there a window of opportunity here? Yes. But how many other things are there that people could buy? How are they going to find it? So you want to kind of open it up to figure out where your biggest success opportunity is. And the second, third, fourth, fifth, those are great. But, you got to try and hit. So you don't always have the crystal ball, but when you start to dig in a little bit and figure out where that opportunity is, that's where you should kind of see what works and, keep going with what works and keep trying new things, take out what doesn't work and keep adding new things and then all of a sudden you have a machine of things that work.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to take it back though to, as the inventor, coming up with this solution and not knowing what that market is. Because I think you're really talking about the market, right? The prospective market. Not knowing what that market is and if it would ever be valuable. So you described like the woulda, coulda, shoulda people. Those are the people who are like, I got an idea and whatever, somebody will come up with it. It'll be great. I hope it comes up, happens someday. Where I got stalled as an inventor was I had the idea. I even bought some supplies to try to jerry rig and make my own version of of it, like a prototype, as best as I could, which I couldn't do, and that's probably where I really stopped. And then not having already having a sense of why I think this is such a great thing and it's going to sell so well, and even thinking about who the consumers were, not knowing that, it was sort of like, well, I don't have a motivation because I don't know that this thing is going to be, the greatest thing, and so many people are going to buy it, and there's a market for it. And I ran into a snag, a difficulty that just because of my own lack of skill. And you mentioned earlier about the doctor. I brought up the idea of trust. You want to go to somebody and you want to get you trust them with your idea, with your baby, to try to help you figure it out. But if you aren't sure, if you don't feel comfortable, if I don't know, that Brian Freed actually cares about helping me do this, I'm a little bit afraid to tell Brian Freed about my idea and what I want to do with it. You've solved that as an inventor by providing it in different formats. You say, okay, I can coach you, but if you want, you can just take my class. You can just, watch this video. You can do these things that don't involve your telling me things if you don't want to. And you can kind of work your way in. But for me as an inventor, it was sort of a combination of, hitting a snag and not wanting to work through it without there being some sort of incentive of, oh, clearly there's going to be demand for this. So what do you tell inventors who arrive at that type of, obstacle?
You know, if you don't get help, then you're going to be in the same spot where you are right now. So again, just kind of finding the right resources, doing your due diligence, asking the right questions. When we're getting quotes or I'm getting quotes with an inventor for a manufacturer, or they come to me with something that they've been working on, I said, "Oh, that's great. How many quotes did you get? Because that price might be a little bit high." No, I didn't get any other ones. I'm like, oh, you could have gotten it for a little less. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you just get really emotional with what you have and what people are telling you. And you just really have to, one of the hardest things is to stop and to realize if it's something that's yours, which that patent search with the patentability opinion is gold to me, because that gives me a direction if I should stop because I might be infringing on somebody else's intellectual property. Is it over 20 years old that it's in the public domain and anybody can make it? So how much of mine is different? Or can it be like the Snuggie, for example, the blanket with sleeves? Everybody remembers that, right? That was invented many, many years ago. But a marketing company said, you know what? Let's come up with a cute name for this thing. We'll call it the the Snuggie. And now the Slanket and all these other versions are out. Why? Because it's over 20 years old. It's in the public domain. So you can make it and I can make it, but you're not going to be able to get any IP on it, intellectual property protection on it. So, but if it is something that does have a good opportunity for that, it's non-obvious, it's unique and different, then maybe you can get some intellectual property, which now can give you some options and opportunity of potentially licensing. So when you're licensing, you're giving the rights to your intellectual property to a company. Most of the time, they're manufacturing, distributing. So if you go into Walmart and you flip over the packages, the company that's on the back is probably the one that you want to talk to. I have a similar product to your product line. I'm looking to add it to your product line where you manufacture it, distribute it, and you pay me a royalty. Or maybe you want to manufacture it yourself. You start your own business. You're selling this thing. Now you have other products around it that you build a brand out of. And then all of a sudden you go to buyers and I don't just have one SKU, one product. Now I have many that now I can bring to the table with some history and sales history and everything else. So I feel like people just need to follow what you should. And I know that it's scary, but if you're doing the right things, you're asking people to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You know, we talked about, hey, I'm going to tell the person next to me, yeah, if they sign a non-disclosure agreement, or I don't tell them. If you publicly disclose it, you want to file as soon as possible. Obviously, you have 1 year to file when you publicly disclose it, but in this country, it's first to file. So you want to get that on record before you start disclosing it, in my opinion. And when I go to trade shows and everything else, I always like to file, or I work with inventors that they should file at least to have a provisional patent application filed so they're patent pending. But you got to just do your due diligence as much as you can on your own, not only for your idea, but who it is that you're going to work with. So whether it's a consultant, prototyping, patent attorney, patent agent, engineering, packaging, barcode, like all these things you want to kind of vet along the way, or you work with people. That's why I built my platforms, my community, so people can talk to each other and say what's working for them, what's not working for them, who did they use, how did it, what was your experience. That's why I did it. And I love to see people collaborating, communicating, and helping each other, including me helping them to get to the next level.
I totally agree, and I think it's an amazing thing to have that type of resource. I do wanna back up in some of the things you said because we're talking a little bit of inside baseball here, and some of the audience here are not gonna understand terms. In fact, you and I had a conversation even before this about, the problem with the terminology that's used and people's perception of what that terminology means. So I would love for you to back up. You mentioned obviousness and novelty. You said provisional patent application. You used some language that I know what it means, but I'd love for you to explain sort of in plain English to the audience here what those are and what their significance is.
Sure. So when I come up with an idea and I want, let's say it's functional. So meaning you push this button, you slide it on the track, it stops when you let go. Something has twists and turns and gears, and there's a purpose and reason for doing that. And I want to explain to you why it works that way. That's utility, functionality. So what you would do if I had something like that is I would file first. I would file a provisional patent application. That gives me the right for 1 year to say that I'm patent pending while I'm exploring the market, learning a little bit more, deciding if I want to move forward or not. So I can feel comfortable to say that I'm patent pending. Before the year is done, I would need to convert that into a non-provisional patent application, which is the one that actually gets shown to a patent examiner. The other one is just a filing date. The patent examiner will look at it if you file the non-provisional patent application. So that one has claims in it. It has the explanation of why your product is what it is and how it works and how it functions. And you're going to compare why yours is different than other ones. So you're going to reference other patents in your patent application. So as many as I have 15 patents, you probably have done hundreds of patents. It's still kind of foreign to me. So I have a professional do it for me, because if I'm going to take it to the next level, if I'm going to show it to a company to license or to go into my own business, IP, intellectual property, is very important for me to have. And I can explain that to you in a little while. But if my idea is just ornamental, just how it looks, maybe I can't necessarily get a patent on the way that it functions, but it's unique the way that it looks. Then I can get a design patent. It's only protects you really the only place to really explain it is in the title. The rest of it is just the description of what it is. So sometimes if I'm pretty good with where I'm at, I might not necessarily have to file the provisional patent application. I might just go for the patent application, which is the non-provisional patent application, the utility patent. But most of the time, especially with inventors that I work with, a PPA, provisional patent application, is the first step. That's within the year, you flip it to the non-provisional patent application. If you get the patent, you have 20 years from the original filing date from that provisional, that you have kind of a monopoly on that. You're basically saying to somebody that you can't do the same thing as I have for that 20 years. A design patent is 15 years from that date. Um, there's no maintenance fees on design patents. On utility patents, there are every couple, 3, 7, 11, all there's along the way that you pay. If I was going to license it to earn royalties, a utility patent is much stronger, because they might like what you have and they can tweak the design a little bit and not necessarily have to rent the rights to your intellectual property. So I always try to get utility. If it's tough, then I switch it to the design patent. And what I've also done, Matthew, is I've incorporated copyrights. I protect myself through technical drawings, and that helps me also. And that lasts as long as I do, a lifetime. So, and then you might come up with a name for what you have, and you can protect it by a trademark in the certain class of goods that you're using for that particular name. And that also is something that is strong, where you can build it up. So maybe there's somebody making the same thing, or you couldn't get a patent on it, but you could come up with a good name and a good marketing campaign and penetrate the market that way. So um, I hope I did a good job. I you're the patent attorney.
You did a great job, and but it's good for them to hear it, and you could see me nodding, so they know that I'm verifying that that you're accurate. But I do want to say something about all that, because there is a tendency for people, I guess, because of short attention spans, or just a limited time to focus, to generalize what they hear and think that that is how it applies no matter what they do or no matter where they go. And so, very much what you've recited is the US way of things being done in terms of protecting these types of things. And and as an example, you mentioned that, gee, if you disclose something to the public, you better go right off and go file as soon as you can, because you have that 1 year to do it. Um, but in most countries around the world, if you disclosed it, you're done. You can't even pursue the patent application. So if your product is something that is uh, going to be beyond borders, you have to not only take a single country's view, whether it's your home country or the other one, some other one that you know, and you need to be aware. And most countries, apart from the United States, don't have a provisional patent application like we were just describing. So this is not supposed to be an intellectual property lesson, but the point here is that it's very easy to take the concept and overgeneralize it. And that's why you have someone like Brian, right? Someone who you can talk to, who can walk through it with you and understand and try to understand it. And someone like me who's ultra concerned about precision in the language because I'm a lawyer, right? But we do these things to try to avoid pitfalls and guide towards whatever the goal is. So I think that's really important. But no, thank you for explaining your understanding of patents and trademarks. I think you also brought up earlier in our conversation about the Snuggie and used the example of a Snuggie as something that was already long since past its period, right, of rights, that the patents had long since ended or expired. But the interesting thing, and I don't know if you pointed out, right, but if that name, Snuggie, I don't know if that really was a brand name, but if that was a brand name, right, that goes on. So then they have to call it a slanket or they have to call it something else because there's a different, you built up a reputation in the name and people buy based on the name, right? So we sometimes there's a tendency to think of inventions and to go right to patents, and it's a right thing to do because patents are the ones that can run out if you don't do it up front, right? You could miss out the opportunity. But when you have an idea, the intellectual property rights don't directly tie to every aspect of that idea. We have to look at what's protectable and make decisions about what to protect. And then you are taking that and going, okay, well, I think if I had this patent application on file, whatever it is, I might be able to help you get this investment or get interest from QVC or something of that nature. Is that fair?
It is. When I go to these licensees, so you're the licensor with the intellectual property, and the companies that I mentioned, like if you go to Walmart or Target or Home Goods, or you go to automotive store, you go to Granger, or where, like, you flip over these things and you see the company names. So they're the ones that are the licensees that sometimes they're into taking outside ideas and adding it to their product line, or they might have their own design team already. They don't take outside. So I'm not talking about marketing companies. I'm talking about companies that are actually making things and distributing. So if you're going to Walmart or Target, you know that they probably made it at this point to get to that level. When you go on Amazon, Matthew, you see the same product 100 times from the same thing, could be $2 to $25. Why? Because it's almost like a commodity item. People just buy it overseas and they just put it on, and maybe they advertise a little bit, and the same thing they'll sell for 25 and somebody else will sell for $2. So the point is that the licensing gives them the right to have exclusivity, because you don't want them competing against other companies in their industry, right? So you're giving them exclusivity for a certain amount of time and they pay you a royalty. Just very quick example, because people are like, what does that all mean? So let's say it costs the company $2 to make, and they end up selling it wholesale to Walmart for $5, and Walmart sells it to you for $9.99. So on the $5 wholesale, the average royalty rate, let's call it 5%. So that's 5% of $5, 25 cents per unit. Yeah, but they're in Walmart. So you want to go after the players, the A players in the business. They're the ones that are going to do mass distribution. If you're going to go to a company that has, some distribution in 10 retail stores, yeah, you can get 100% to nothing too, right? So you might make a small amount, but the volume is there. That's the kind of model. And for me, I love seeing my products out there for the reason I came up with it. I love watching people use it. So I go for the players, and that's usually where you make the money from the license from licensing, is because they have really good distribution. So they have certain minimums that every deal is kind of different. But for the most part, there's territory, and even though you're in the U.S., maybe they still sell overseas, and you can still earn from it. How many units do they forecast to sell for the year? And if they don't sell that amount, they can true up and pay the difference, or you can terminate the agreement or become non-exclusive. So there's a lot of twists and turns to kind of do that. And, the most important thing, Matthew, that I have a chance to do is, whether an inventor, I kind of coach them to try to get a licensing deal, or I do it for them or with them, is when somebody asks you, what are you looking for? I know how to close the deal. And not that you don't, but I've been doing this for a little while, and I've learned a lot of things along the way for myself and for other people. So that's kind of interesting. And then the other side of it, Matthew, is, okay, well, maybe the licensing didn't work, because not because I suck or your idea sucks. You just might not have gotten those companies at the right time. You call somebody up and they're freaking miserable, right? There's nothing you could do. No matter what you say, they broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're done, right? Or they had a purchase order just canceled, or they have enough in their pipeline and they don't really need a new product. But, for me, like, going to these licensees, they're responsible when they go to a trade show or they see buyers. You know what the buyers usually say? What do you got that's new? Show me something new. So if they don't have it, that's where they can open it up to somebody like me, and inventors that I represent, for possible licensing deals. And then, like I said, on the other side, there's people that are looking to manufacture their idea and to start their own business. So we go through the engineering, the prototyping. Some people have cut and sew jobs. Some people use metal or wood. Some people are building an app or starting their own business. I'm helping some people with a lot of different business kind of problem solution. And patents don't always have to be a product, right, Matthew? It could be a method. I mean, it can even be a plant. So there's a lot of ways to figure out how to protect yourself. And I know you don't want to make this into an IP, but I can tell you how powerful it is, because I manufacture some of my products. I work with other people and manufacture, and I could tell you that sometimes I'll see my product on, let's say, Amazon. I'm like, I didn't give this person permission to sell it. If I didn't have a patent, they could sell it. Okay. When I show Amazon, hey, my patent number is this, you could see it here. You can contest this with whoever's selling it, and they can put up money, and I could put up money for arbitration. They're not going to put it up. So I go through that, and all of a sudden, in one day, 75 people who were sellers all went down. If I didn't have a patent, I couldn't do that. So that's why I know people like, yeah, but you have to enforce it. No, yeah, but you have a lot more opportunities to protect yourself with a patent than without. That's why I feel very strong about it.
There's something you were talking about with licensing that I think is worth addressing too, because you know, I think a lot of people perceive, well, I go one route or I go the other route. I'm going to manufacture it or I'm going to go license it. And a lot of people who don't have a lot of money, early on when they have the idea, and they're thinking about what IP they want to pursue, whatever, they want to go the licensing route because they don't have to spend as much, they don't have to produce the product, etc. Um, but like I've seen that, if you're gonna try to get a licensee, it's often not the case that they're going to just jump because you show them something interesting. Sometimes you need to have a proof of concept. Like, I've actually built this thing, I've sold a certain number, right? I mean, out of my garage or whatever it was. But and you can see that on shows like Shark Tank, right? Where they kind of, they're looking at, okay, where are you now and what you have accomplished, both in terms of rights you've gotten, but also in terms of your sales and your, how successful you are, what you're earning, in order to decide whether they want to invest more and maybe help you get a licensing deal or something of that nature. So it's important not to think of them as like two sides of a coin. They're different, they can sometimes be concurrent, and they can sometimes be one leading to the other.
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people don't know what they want. It sounds good. I want royalties. I'm going to be a gazillionaire. I don't want to manufacture because I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I could tell you that people bring me $1.2 million business plans, $2.5 million business plans, and I look at it. I'm like, you can manufacture this for like 10 grand. You can have 2,000 units in your garage. So I'm not sure what you're going to do with that other money or what, but again, like just figuring out who you are, how much you have, what your financial situation is, how much time do you have, and then start to figure out like, if you wanted to manufacture, it's not like people's perceptions. Like I just give you an example. So this lady, we were trying to license her product and didn't get a deal. And again, not because I suck or a product sucks, just most of the time it's very difficult to license. Okay, it's difficult. You got to find at the right time. So, we couldn't get a deal, and I'm like, why don't you manufacture your product? She's like, I don't have the money for that. I'm like, well, how much is it? I don't know. Well, how do you know you don't have the money? What do you think it's going to cost? I don't know, maybe 25, 30,000 for the mold, and how much per unit? Maybe 3, $4. So let's find out. So it went, vetted a couple factories. The mold cost $600, and the units, the cost per unit was 80 cents per unit. Yeah, Brian, but I got to produce 100,000 units of that thing. Okay, the minimum order quantity, the MOQ, is 3,000 units. 3,000 units times 80 cents is $2,400. $600 for the mold, 3 grand. Couple bucks to ship it here. 3,000 units sold. 3,000 units sold. 5,000, 5,000. Now she could go back to the other company and go, F all of you. This is what's happening. You ready for me now? And that's happened to me also. So it's really important. And this is one of the hardest things is that, like, people have perceptions out there and they kind of have all these things that they picked up and try to research. And I love that they have it all, but I help them to put it together to make better business decisions, to make a decision what's good for you, not for me. If it's the last time that I speak to you, I'm okay as long as I got you the right information to put you on the right path. So that's the goal. So you don't know really what you need until we dig deep and compare and figure out who you are and what you want to do. But before you say one thing, it's good to know what your options are.
Apart from, hey, people can come to you for that kind of coaching, you give them other resources and you give them each other, right? So they can go onto Invent Smart on the app or online, and they can communicate and find out what other people are doing with similar ideas or similar things in process, and what they liked and didn't like. So I think that's really important. And I actually want to switch gears a little bit because you know I also think, like, there's a perception as we started this out that you're an inventor, you've got these 15 patents, you've got all these products you've sold and licensed. Um, and it's like, okay, and now you help other people. But I don't think it's that clear cut. Like, you are not still an inventor. I think you are still an inventor. And I think you could even tell us about what are you inventing now, whether it's a product, or it's a service or some process that's out there that can help maybe your community of inventors. What do you have going on?
Right on the other side of my desk here is my bag with all my I just did I spoke to the Small Business Development Center, which is an amazing resource. It's a division of the Small Business Administration, so if you need help with local resources for grants and funding and things like that, maybe you're starting a business, or if you want help with a business plan, they're fantastic and it's free. I did a presentation and the bag is right over there. I could show you because it's interesting to hear, like, an inventor is invented things, but I like to show things. But on the other side, I thought it was really important, especially with AI. There's a lot of AI tools out there, and you can get information, But what I wanted to do is put something together from my 20 years of listening, 20 plus years of listening to people and their ideas and kind of navigating through with technology today to be able to launch an AI platform for inventors. So I'm in test beta stage. By the time you're listening, hopefully it'll be full beta stage, but I'm really excited about UInvent.ai. And you could spell UYOU or the letter U. UInvent.ai. And what I did was I made it stateless, which means that you could put your idea in, and when you leave, it's poof, it's gone. Nothing is saved or stored. Nothing is out there. It's a way that it just kind of falls off, and nothing on different platforms as it passes through. So I made it so you can put your idea and describe it. You can type it. You can take a picture of it. You sketch, upload. You can talk, and you put in your description, and poof, you have a generated image of what it looks like. If you want to animate it, you can animate it too for 10 seconds and you can see it in action. And then you can evaluate it and you get scored. And it gives you a score based on what it is and the description that you put in, and a way for you to improve it, which is nice. It also gives you kind of the patent landscape of, if it's patentable or not, or similar patents that are out there. And then it kind of drills into comparisons and a couple other things. But I think the way that I built it is for you to get that stuff for yourself, but to know that I'm by your side. If you need me, you have access to Pat Pending is my chatbot's name. Pat Pending. And it's a knowledge base of 20 years of my experience and talking and interviews and books and everything else in there for you. If you need me, you can book something with me. You can, if you put in your email and you want to send things to me, you could. So, or you save it for yourself and then you decide, or you schedule a time. So I want people to be empowered with information and knowledge. And these days it's a lot easier, but you could go here, you could go here, you can go here. So I wanted to have a place for you to go for what you need. I'm building this ecosystem of, you want a community. I have National Inventor Club. I bring you all amazing guests that you don't have to hear from me. You can hear from the experts. You want crowdfunding, you want the patent office, you want trademark office, you copyright office, like, Kevin O'Leary's president of O'Leary Ventures I had on there. If you're looking to raise money, like anything that you think about, prototyping, maker, all these different things, I've put out there so you can hear it from the experts and you can help to make better decisions and direction of what you want to do. So I've National Inventor Club, chatting with each other, doing this, kind of AI platform, being the coach, doing yourself an e-learning course. I'm building all these things for you to make you so you can make a better decision if you should work on it or not. And if you do, the steps that you could take to continue to move forward to hopefully commercialize it.
So is UInvent.ai a free resource?
Everything is free about it. I've developed it in a way where it's I have to pay a little bit here and there for the power to make it work, but I feel like I'm put on this earth to educate and create and empower people. That's me. I'm even I was taking classes for I'm 52 right now whenever you're watching this. But I'm 52, and I thought it would be cool to teach entrepreneurship, invention, that kind of thing. And I started to take my master's a few years ago, and I take one class, two classes at a time. And I have this class now, and then summer one and summer two, and I got asked to teach for the fall of 2026. So again, I want to keep putting out there because I feel like I can communicate the message well for people. And what makes me cringe and upset is when somebody gets ripped off or not on the right path to what they could do because I didn't tell them first. So that's why I do it. That's why I'm here tonight.
I'm personally inspired. I'm going to go dust off my invention idea that I did not follow through on. And maybe I'll go play with it in UInvent.ai, see what I get there. But having the resource, I mean, not even knowing that those resources are out there is a problem for people. And I think I wouldn't want to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person. So, having some resources to know how to take it, another step or another few steps, um, there's the pieces I know, but there's the pieces I don't know. I don't have ready available people who could do prototypes, for the thing that I want to make. So, it's good to have, a community and a resource that you can go to find that information and be more confident about your choices and, make decisions.
Yeah, and it's easy these days. Like you talked about, so I mentioned earlier, like put in a descriptive term. Instead of going through every link that comes up, click on images and look at the images and see what's different, see what's out there that exists already. So if you hit a brick wall, move on to your next idea. You came up with that one, you'll come up with another one. But if there's things that you see that yours is different, capture it, log it, right? Then go to the stores and go shopping or look at other companies and see how they're doing their thing. Then these days also it's easy to make a prototype. So you can find somebody to do 3D CAD file. Then you can upload it to Shapeways or Xometry, and you can have a 3D print come into your mailbox in 2 weeks, within 2 weeks, so you could see it. Then you have this prototype. Now you can figure out, is it good? Do I need to tweak it? This, that, whatever. And then am I going to do a patent search? See if it's something that, we mentioned uspto.gov is the US Patent and Trademark Office. You can do a patent search on there yourself. You can also use patents.google.com, right? And you can put in descriptive things there and comes up. It's a lot of foreign stuff that not foreign like in a different language, but it's not the easiest to read. So, you can use AI to check. You can hire a patent attorney or agent to do this patent search with a patentability opinion. So once you know where you stand, is it something that you could get a utility patent on? Is it something that's a design patent? Can I not get anything at all? And make some decisions on what you're going to do there. And then decide, am I going to license it to earn royalties? Do I have enough intellectual property to give a company a competitive advantage? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I have the money? Do I have the time? And resource, all these things to make these decisions and then bring it to market, right? Or it hangs up on your shelf. I have products that I have units in my garage that I'm still trying to figure out when I have time because I'm working on everybody else's inventions. One day I'll get to it. I'll hear it from my wife when I go upstairs again that, when are you going to clean the garage? I got a shed now in the back, so I might put my stuff in the back, but you want to invest in yourself. And I could tell you that just even the AI platform, I had this vision in my head and I was trying to hire somebody or a company. And I got so frustrated with all the stuff that they were telling me and how much it would cost. And I finally asked my AI, I'm like, I want to know, can you help me to do this? Yes, I can. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I just kept going. And 25 hours later, I have a beautiful platform that you can use. And I'm so excited about it. And that's another thing that I could say that I invented. I took out of my head, and that's just what we do. We're all inventors, we just don't know it. It's unbelievable. And another thing, Matthew, like I love with like I get a chance to speak to kids. And I've done this a while ago. I haven't done it in a while, but I used to go to schools and I used to colleges, different types of speaking opportunities. But the one that I loved to really go to was the elementary school kids. So I bring this pigskin football. I throw it at a kid. Oh, right? That hurt. I take out a Nerf football. I'm like, throw it to you. Nice and soft, right? Now, let me show you this one. It makes noise. It lights up, right? Okay, let me take out the yo-yo. Here's a yo-yo. Go ahead, do it. Oh, it didn't work, right? Look at this. automatic yo-yo. Beautiful, right? This one lights up. This one makes noise. And then I took out an Inventors prototype with permission, and I said, this inventor has been trying so hard to get people to buy this product, and it's just not doing well. What do you think we could do to make this a better product? Go around the room, everybody. What if you did this? What if you added that? What if you? I said, you see, all of you are inventors. And that's the thing is when you make them aware or you make yourself aware that you can come up with an idea and you don't have to force it. You just need to be aware of what's going on with what you're doing, what other people are doing. And that's when you come up with this aha moment. And that's where you capture it or it disappears. Poof, it's gone. So that's what's inspiring to me is that you take this, whatever it is in your head. I don't know. I mean, I used to take things apart when I was young and rip them apart in a non-aggressive way, but just curious way. But it's interesting. And I love watching people when they come up with an idea to just see it in reality and watch people buy it or use it. That's the fun part. That's the gold for me.
I think that's the right place to end our conversation, because I feel the same way. It's about the inspiration. You're clearly a passionate about inventorship, and inventorship is an intangible that businesses need to succeed and thrive. So, Brian, I really appreciate your being here today to discuss all the different things that you're doing to help inventors. I will definitely go play with UInvent.ai and with Inventors Smart. So thank you for that. And, you've been listening to Intangify. So thanks very much for listening. Brian, thanks.